Hello friends, and welcome to the basic course of engineering circuit analysis. So this is lecture 1, and today we will be starting with the introduction to the subject. Now, as you all know, engineering circuit analysis is one of the most important subjects for any type of electrical or electronics or computer science engineers. Now, one of the reasons why it is so important is that it is an application based subject. And it is almost a prerequisite to all electronics and electrical engineering subjects. Now, if you take electrical engineering, core subjects of electrical engineering like machines, or let us say power systems, electrical measurements, all require a good understanding of engineering circuit analysis. Even if you take circuit branches like electronics, you have subjects such as analog electronics, or you have subjects like communication systems. All these subjects require a good understanding of engineering circuit analysis. That is why it is so important. It is an application based subject as well as it is a prerequisite to almost all electrical and electronic branches. Now, engineering circuit analysis as a subject can be divided into linear circuit analysis. Now, when there is linear circuit analysis, naturally there will be non-linear circuit analysis. Now, the advantages of using linear circuit analysis, and in fact in this course we will be covering only linear circuit analysis. The advantage of linear circuit analysis is that it is intuitive. That means it is very easy to understand the concept or have an overall understanding of the concept. And the second thing is that it deals with much easier mathematics as compared to nonlinear circuit analysis. So where do we use nonlinear circuit analysis? We use nonlinear circuit analysis especially in areas where there is high demand for accuracy. But in our subject, that is engineering circuit analysis, which we are dealing now, we will be using only linear circuit analysis because that is only the requirement. Now, just to give a little bit understanding about this importance of linear circuit analysis, let us take a simple example. Now, let us have an athlete here. Okay, an athlete has a speed of 5 meters per second. That is, he can run at a speed of say 5 meters per second. Now, what will be the time taken to complete a 100-meter race? Now, it's easy, right? Now, you know that time taken is equal to distance by speed. It's a simple relationship. Now, so to complete a 100-meter race, the time taken will be simple, right? It is 100 divided by 5. So, it will be 20 seconds. The athlete will take 20 seconds to complete the race. For 200-meter race, it will be 200 divided by 5. Okay, so that is 40 seconds. Or I could have easily multiplied, because this is 100 meter and I'm just doubling the time, doubling the distance, I'm just doubling the distance. So naturally the time taken also will be doubled. So it will be 2 into 20, right? What will be the time taken to complete a 400 meter second? It's easy, right? So you can take 4 into 20. So that will be 80 seconds. Or if you want to confirm, you can take 400 and divide it by 5 and you will get 80 seconds. Okay. What will be the time to do a marathon, say, which is 42 kilometers or 4,200 meter race? So that will be easy. So that is 4,200 divided by 5. Okay. So that will be roughly 8,400 seconds is the time that is taken by the athlete to complete the marathon race, right? So you can clearly see I started with 20 seconds. Then I increased the distance to 200. So the time got doubled. Then I increased the distance 4 times. So the time took 4 times. So if I plot a graph here, if I plot a simple graph, okay, where I can take this x-axis to the time needed to complete the race, and this is the distance completed, I will get a linear graph, right? I will get linear graph like this. Okay, so for 20 seconds the athlete is completing. So if you look at the graph for 20 seconds, you can see the athlete runs at 100 meters, right? It completes 100 meters. And for 40 seconds, that is double the time, 40 seconds, I can clearly see that the athlete would have completed 200 meters, right? For 80 seconds, the athlete would have easily completed 400 meters. Now this is in a linear world, right? This is in a linear world. But in reality, the speed of the athlete will not be constant. See, for example, he is going for a marathon, which is 42 kilometers. So we don't expect this 5 meters per second to be constant. Why is this graph linear? this graph was linear because the speed of the athlete was assumed to be constant. But in a real life, there are non-linearities. So what might be the non-linearity? Sometimes it might be strategy. The athlete initially might run at some speed, then he might reduce his speed to keep his energy, then he might increase the speed again after some time to complete the race. So it might be strategy, and sometimes it might be fatigue. Maybe the athlete has run so much that he becomes fatigued, he's tired, so his speed might reduce. Like this, so many non-linearities you can associate with this particular athlete strategy. Now let us assume here the athlete, again we will draw the same graph, time in this axis and distance in this axis. So initially the athlete is running at some particular speed, so you will get a linear graph like this. Okay, after some time, after some particular amount of time, his speed is going to reduce. Let us assume his speed is going to reduce. It can be due to strategy, it can be due to fatigue, anything. So its speed is reducing, so the graph will come like this. Okay, initially he is going fast, now his graph has reduced. Now by the time he wants to complete the race, he might improve his speed. As compared to the first part of the graph, he might increase the speed. So this is going to be the graph. So you can see these two graphs which I have plotted here for linear and non-linear, they are little bit different. This graph which I have drawn is a much accurate form as compared to the linear graph. Now if you see, this was the linear graph that I have plotted and this is the non-linear graph. These graphs are very different. But one important thing that you have to understand here is that let us assume the athlete's speed is constant. The athlete's speed is constant, say for the first maybe 50 seconds. For the first 50 seconds. So let's take that time interval till here. Till here the athlete's speed is say 5 meters per second. So here it is 50 seconds. Okay. Now if I take another 50 seconds here, okay, in this linear graph, you can see this graph here and this graph here are exactly the same. If you are only considering for the first 50 seconds where the speed is constant at say 5 meters per second, the linear graph and the non-linear graph are exactly the same. So if you want to use your analysis, if you want to do your analysis only for the first 50 seconds, you can also use the linear graph. There is going to be no compromise on accuracy. But of course, if you want to do for say 150 seconds, if you use the linear graph, it will give you a wrong result. For that, you will have to use a non-linear. So that is the point I am going to make here. The graph considerably changes when these changes are added to the system. You see, the graphs are completely different. But if you are only bothered for the first 50 seconds, the linear model is also describing the system correctly. This is the point I want to make. For accuracy, you might have to go for non-linear. But if your demand is only the point where the linear analogy also fulfills your purpose, then you can very well go for the linear analysis. So that is what we are going to do in our engineering circuit analysis also. For whatever accuracy or whatever constraint we are putting on the system, we can use linear circuit analysis. Now, engineering circuit analysis in general as a subject, if you see, it can be divided into three important parts. One is the resistive or time independent. Then you are having the time dependent analysis where we will have elements like inductors, capacitors, etc. And the third important area is the frequency domain. In resistive, in fact, in all type of systems, you will have to learn circuit solving techniques. You will have to learn Ohm's law and the most important Kirchhoff's current law, Kirchhoff's voltage law, etc. and network theorems. These three will form the backbone of understanding engineering circuit analysis. So in this basic course, we will be dealing with resistive type of networks in which we will be learning circuit solving techniques, Ohm's law, KCL and KVL and all the network theorems. In fact, this is going to be the biggest area that we'll have to cover in engineering circuit analysis. Okay, so that is why I have called this the basic course. Once you understand all these concepts, time dependent analysis and frequency dependent analysis will be very easy. So this is the area that you will have to spend most of your time, because I already told you engineering circuit analysis is an application based subject. You have to understand the concepts to learn more and more concepts. So in this basic course, we will be learning resistive networks and we will learn all the circuit solving techniques. So if you have the understanding of all these concepts, time dependent analysis and frequency dependent analysis will be very, very easy. Now, some of the reference book that we are going to use to understand the course is Engineering Circuit Analysis by Hayt and Kemerly, Fundamental of Electric Circuits by Matthew and Sadiku. We will be referring with lecture notes of NPTEL and also some videos of NPTEL. It's a beautiful resource. And also we will be dealing with some previous year numericals from competitive exams like GATE, IAS, etc. So once you have this type of reference, you will be able to understand whatever we are going to cover in this basic course very easily. Now, what are the prerequisites for this basic course? One is a basic understanding of high school physics. Okay, so all of you might have done a basic course in physics in 11th and 12th, right? So that understanding is required. Of course, we will be revising some concepts when we take the concepts in our hand, but still you should have a little bit of understanding. And also simple equation solving also you should know. Simple mathematics of solving algebraic equations, that is also a prerequisite. Now, what are my expectations from a student who completes this course? One, he should be able to apply all the Kirchhoff's laws for any circuit which is given. Then he should be able to use powerful circuit solving techniques which we will be seeing in the course. They will be able to master network theorem. You should become a master in network theorems if you want to understand any subject like electrical machines, power systems, etc. because they have a lot of applications of network theorems. And ultimately, after the course, I expect you will have a very strong foundation for engineering circuit analysis. Now, this is basically a Bloom's taxonomy chart which I have prepared, which actually gives you what level of knowledge you need for certain concepts. So the Bloom's taxonomy defines the level of knowledge for different concepts. Okay, so there is understanding level, application level, remembering level, evaluating, analyzing, and creating. Now, for basic concepts, you should understand the concept. Okay, so all basic concepts you should be able to understand them properly. Okay, then about numericals. In numericals, your level of knowledge should be application. Okay, you cannot just do two numericals and when I give a third numerical, you are telling that I am not able to do that. So for numericals, your level of knowledge should be application of the subject. Then there will be so many formulas that you learn in engineering circuit analysis. Okay, so formulae, you should be remembering them. Okay, so there might be some simple numericals which are easily solved by using some formulae. So in that case, formulae, your level of knowledge for formulas should be remembering. You should remember. It should be in your fingertips. Now, there will be so many theorems that we are going to learn in engineering circuit analysis. So for your level of knowledge for theorems is that you should be able to understand the theorems. You should be able to apply the theorems. And because these theorems, some of these theorems have a procedure, you should be also able to remember that procedure. Only then you will have proper grip on the subject. Now, revision of any subject is very important. Okay, so students have to revise the subject and that is what is the evaluation level of knowledge. Okay, you should be able to revise the subject. Also, for analyzing the subject, for analyzing in the sense how much knowledge you have got about the subject, that can be only assessed when you collect numericals. You collect numericals from whatever source you can find and attempt to solve them. Okay, so that is how you analyze how much you have learned. If there is some lack of knowledge, go back, read the topic once again and come back. Then finally, the creating aspect, creation. You should prepare short notes. Whatever notes you might collect from the internet, the best notes for any subject, it is the short notes that you are going to prepare on your own. So this is the basic Bloom's taxonomy for engineering circuit analysis. So till I see you in the next video, it's Electrical is Easy signing off and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.